Okay, because you saw you are an association. So don't make the discommunity. You have to suddenly rush. So.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the Policy Times Unleashing India Web Summit series post-COVID. We all know that the entire world is now under the tremendous or big amount of change due to the COVID. We don't know whether it is the beginning, it is in the middle, or it is in the end of the COVID crisis that we have.
Yeah.
But certainly we all can feel the pinch that there is a severe crisis that we have to fight against. To talk on this and this Unleashing India Web Summit series, chaired by Dr. P. Shekhar, who is the chairman of Global Smart City Panel and an architect on the concept called secured governance. Today we will also try to understand how secured governance, or maybe in coming weeks, how secured governance can be a solution to a lot of financial and non-financial or strategic challenges the countries are facing. Because post-COVID, it is not only the companies which are going to suffer from revenue. It is a lot of countries or states which are also going to suffer tremendous amount of revenue due to the fall in tax collections and other revenue models that they adopt. In such a scenario, how a secured governance model can help safeguard the financial interest of states and make them self-sufficient. Another issue that we will talk. Today we will discuss, there is one important stakeholder in this society that is called business associations, which mostly silently or in partnership with the states and central governments, they do a tremendous amount of movement, mobilization, and boosting in terms of promoting India's or any country's economic and strategic interest, whether it is in the forms of bringing industrialization, promoting technology, promoting industrial policies and all. Business chambers or associations have a tremendous role to play. Now we will try to understand what is the role that they have. So I will talk later. We have, I think, he needs no introduction. Dr. V. Rangaraj. Dr. Shekhar will introduce him formally when he starts, where we have one of the veteran figures from the domain, from the business association family or domain, to talk on what should be the enhanced role or redefined role during this post-COVID or during COVID era, so that the countries do not lose track and we continue bringing or creating employment, developing or promoting industrialization, adopting new technology, new policies, new processes in business. With this, I will not speak now because I'll speak a little more about this later on. I want Dr. Shekhar to I request Dr. Shekhar to kindly take over the session.
Thank you, Akram. We have now covered almost 38 sessions, and it has started on a very low key as a one-time affair, but it has gotten the fancy of many people. Because this is somewhere where we are bringing comfort to the people, comfort to the struggling community. COVID has hit from nowhere, and that is damaging every aspect of life. Even a big optimist like me cannot say that COVID is doing anything which is good for any one of us. And it brings moral, ethical, every values down. So now what I will do, associations have a very key role to play. And today, when I introduce our guests, everyone will be happy to see the type of thing which the individuals are, the type of people who they are, and type of work which they have done. And that has to give confidence that we are always in safe hands. So before I introduce our key speakers, let me go through a very minor presentation. This yeah. So today's thing is enhanced role for business associations for strategic way forward for national reincarnation. As you know, we were usually used to the word national growth, and we have changed it to national reincarnation because in a short time, COVID has really brought us to the knees. So it has to be reincarnated. But by reincarnation, our targets for growth has to be high, targets for our achievements have to be high, and COVID being something like World War III, it is going to bring a lot of changes in your life. It is going to bring a lot of new things which we don't even know, everything has to be taken forward. Now, business associations have a very key role to play. Now, let us understand, before understanding business associations, the complexity of a country we are in, country India. Now, when we say India as a country, people describe we are a young country, we are only 70-year-old, and we are this and we are that, and many things which are factually and otherwise wrong. We are a over 10,000-year-old civilization, in which, of course, last few years, 8% of a year has been not so good, ruled by some outsiders. And even now, coming back to the premium, we are 206 countries put together. That means majority of the countries, they are on one side, we are on the other side, we are bigger than them. And we say we don't have land. We use only 0.45% of our land. We should know that. We say we don't have water. We have 10 times more water than what we really require. And then administratively, we are a very complex country. We have got so many ethnic, cultural, and linguistic, and highest of the high knowledge, and others with very versatile capabilities. At the same time, there are a lot of negativities because of the, because we have been ruled for 800 years. So that has given rise to things which are not so good. But that doesn't mean that, the good will not go over the, whatever, I don't call it evil, or the circumstances. And so with that, let me go directly to COVID. Just half a minute only on this. COVID is really something invisible to all of us. It is something which is too minuscule, and number-wise also, for somebody like us, the numbers are too minuscule. Even if you say global cases are XYZ million, 60 million, out of 7 billion, 60 million is nothing. Everywhere it is less than 1%. But the psychological damage which it has done is something which has to be taken care. There are people who fear for their life in the name of COVID. There are few people, of course, who are making money out of it, but majority of them are losing money. Okay. So we should know that, there's no point in putting any catastrophic theory that somebody XYZ is doing. Majority of the people are, losing money, losing their livelihood. And so it is our duty to get the people back on track, and the associations will have a very, very key role. So now, what do we mean by business associations? It is a voluntary organization where independent units join together and work with some key people. One of them is in front of us, who do a huge job to see that, business alone, sitting in their own thing, they don't become a fish in the pond. They have to be a whale in the ocean. Business associations make them so that they do not get trapped in their own sycophants. They have to go out and see the world, that they see the world with associations. Since our guests will also be talking about it, so I have only brought few slides to know that it is a voluntary organization. They are all non-profit, and they serve the industry, country, with all the objectives to make everything highly ethical, moral, and highly commercially growth oriented. And they take care of all the interests of the various sectors of the economy. They are never, looking at single sector. And they take care of innovations, transforming the business. Even if somebody has done business in X and then he wants to transform, business associations help them. So they got their own huge role to play, and their own functions. They are all invisible, sitting in some small offices, but make the real, whatever we call it, the catalyst. Catalyst is always an invisible thing which is doing something good. The catalytic role played by them are immense. In all this thing, what Akram said, that secure governance will play a very, very big role. Secure governance is a concept by which untapped potential for national growth are taken. It is a very generic statement. What does it mean? By this concept, all the values which are created by any techno-economic phenomena, whether it's a road or a rail or a school or a hospital or any other amenity that creates value around that place, that value is captured back to make the prime thing itself almost free. And many times we have calculated that this value it is created is more than 20 times the value. So you can see that by just 3-4% usage, you are almost getting your prime thing free. I mean, basic example is a road. The moment road is constructed, it gives phenomenal change in the rates around the road. Today, road makers are all either paupers or frauds. So, and even the road developer is same. So, the capture is the one which the secured government does, and road is just a prime example to know. But it can come in any form of our economy, and if this is used properly, believe me, India's debt will disappear. Okay. So, with that prime description, let me introduce Dr. V. Rangaraj. Dr. V. Rangaraj is a doyen of the industry. Okay. He is somebody who has actually served in US Foreign Service, and he is a PhD in physics, proudly like me. I'm also a PhD in physics. And at the same time, he has done enormous work for the industry from all angles. He has been he has even founded or was one of the founders of some key organizations, and he has been in the industry. He has been in various government forums, and he has also been catalytic. He is one of those who will say never say no to anybody. Anybody can phone him at night 12 o'clock and say is the problem. He will not say that is not my job. He will make it look like that is his job more than the person who is suffering and who is calling. Anybody knowing him will tell you that you go to him for any solution and he is there to give you the solution. And he's a business association man. Even the companies where he used to he many times worked in companies, they would always feel that okay, represent us in various associations, make us grow. And he has never let down any of the companies which he has served, and he has always been a friend of all. And he would give the first talk, Dr. Rangraj.
Thank you, Dr. Shekhar. Uh, Thank you for that excellent introduction which you gave. Post COVID-19 pandemic today, this today's webinar occupies a lot of significance for industry and also for international relations. In this 21st century, knowledge economy is a dominant factor, and we are all aware of that. Here we find various multilateral organizations, corporate institutions, and various government bodies facing multiple challenges in terms of loss of market share, shortage of funds for implementing infrastructure projects, changing work culture for managers, and competition coming from unknown sources. All this is under the big umbrella of changing global order and geopolitical changes combined with rapid technological changes. Now, you have to view against this backdrop the role of industry associations and chambers of commerce. These are traditional membership driven organizations are facing a crisis of relevance in this knowledge economy. On top of all this, the COVID-19 pandemic is creating challenges when it completely disrupts an industry. At the same time, we must appreciate a new opportunity has been created for industry associations to serve the business community in a different role during this hour of crisis and also contribute to the objective of economic recovery for the entire nation. What are these new challenges? In India, several industry associations during the beginning of the year, they had drawn up plans and prepared even vision documents. I remember in January attending a session of one of the large chamber of commerce. They have prepared a vision document to meet the challenges of this new decade. When the pandemic started, every industry association started functioning in a crisis reaction mode. The way ahead was filled with uncertainty, and which we all know what is happening. Many industry associations and chambers of commerce were deprived of the expertise that they would have normally obtained from their highly experienced members. And these individual members were extremely busy in trying to revive their own business and trying to keep their head above water. They were preoccupied on reviving their own businesses. Due to the lockdown, meetings could not be convened, many conferences could not be held, and everybody was struggling by conducting remote meetings. Thus, they had to struggle to reorient their operations in a remote environment. Many industry associations, as I know many, had to readjust their reopening amid new restrictions and a hybridized work environment. Now, on the financial side, everything has a financial implication. The pandemic crisis affected the 2020 budgetary planning of various industry associations and chambers of commerce involving revenue from meetings, events, sponsorships, on which they are really and they're very heavily dependent on this. The revenue raising capacity got truncated, and associations were first with a declining membership dues collection. In the post COVID situation, many companies who were members of industry associations have postponed payment of their renewal membership fees. Under these circumstances, some of the companies expect the industry associations to offer them high value programs, products, and services for the investment that they have made in becoming a member of the association. A broad sweep across different states of this country show that the representational function of industry association is extremely important at this stage. Industry associations and chambers of commerce carry, in my opinion, the tone, the tenor, and the voice of the private sector to different corners of the government, and it is the torch bearer of their members' interests in the open society. During this COVID-19 era, industry associations and chambers of commerce cannot afford to be in the sidelines, policy debates, always being in the sidelines, and surrounding the pandemic which are taking place. Government in different parts of the world are asking for inputs from industry associations while they try to balance public health priorities on one hand and keeping the wheels of the industry moving so as to maintain the sustainable livelihoods of the citizens. Industry veterans in big, medium, and small industries are doing their best to restart ventures with optimum level of staffing. At the same time, we have witnessed that the terrain for business operations and decision making has shifted abruptly and dramatically across entire industries and the value chains. We are yet to see the end of the crisis. One industrialist the other day, he mentioned to me that the government intervention is required in many cases. I also agreed with him. But the hazard there is governments may use this crisis as an excuse to gain greater control on the private sector or market economies. But I believe that this may not be true in the Indian situation because currently government of India is trying to disinvest several of its holdings in the public sector and focus more on improving infrastructure and restructuring the financial system in the country. In these extraordinary situations, industry associations are faced with the challenge of communications to engage themselves with their stakeholders and general membership since traditional modes are inadequate. Businessmen and industrialists are looking for trusted sources of information and analysis which they can use to create new opportunities. And this is where an opportunity lies for the industry association and the chambers of commerce. Where is it that industry associations can make a difference? If you go into this, we will find at this hour of crisis, when business owners in the private sector are facing existential problems, perhaps in every country, the role of industry associations have become more critical and essential. Can they rise to the occasion? This is the question. I was talking to Ms. Sangeeta Reddy, president of FICCI. She said, industry associations are created for times such as this. This is the time industry associations and chambers of commerce are to be positioned to provide leadership and to navigate the crisis and help their members to emerge intact and even stronger. The US Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C., where I know a couple of people, they told me the other day that this is the world's largest chamber of commerce. It has come out with special programs to ensure that no business is ruined due to the pandemic. They come out with several programs. Some of the successful organizations like CII or FICCI started focusing on what really matters to their members and dropping aside all those things which does not. Industry associations have to assess the impact of the crisis on their members and the market segments. Typically, it has been observed that revenue coming out of meetings, events, symposiums, trade shows, seminars, they constitute roughly about 55 to 60% of the income of industry associations. Industry associations create much of their value through the value of convening programs beneficial to their members. Now, it is interesting to note with the meetings and events getting completely cancelled due to lockdown conditions, social distancing, and so on, it has created a big hole in the balance sheets of various associations. The progressive and alert industry associations have had to do contingency budgeting, forecasting income and expenses, identifying sustainable source of revenue, and this has created a lot of problems, but they have to align it with the new strategy for remaining part of the year. Along with this comes the reassessment of infrastructure, revamped communication platforms, and new channels to reach out to members. Chambers and industry associations have little choice, let me tell you, friends. They have to retool the programs, products, and services so that they offer with a focus of delivering immediate value. I can give you some good examples here. For example, FICCI New Delhi created its own portal through which it organized international trade shows and exhibitions, newsletters for members, symposium. And it is very interesting to note here that generally in FICCI EC meeting, Executive Council meeting, 70 to 80 people are there out of the 200 people who are there. But when they did it through the Zoom, they found that 200 EC members took part in their Executive Council deliberations. In every state, FICCI has created nodal managers whereby members could seek any services of the FICCI. Every day in the morning, FICCI has started sending electronic newspapers to their various members. So many services. They have contributed in a big way to skill development programs for its members because new skills are required to survive in this new pandemic, in a new challenging situation, especially the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning. CIA has created a portal whereby it stages an impressive array of online events, webinars, education, speaker series, local market insights, emerging global opportunities for its members, and creating dialogue sessions with public officials for its own members using the electronic medium. A leading chamber of commerce in Mumbai issues advisories to its members to help them understand new regulations relating to restrictions on business operations, tax filings, fiscal support programs for the affected companies, and relief available to workers, among several other issues. Many of the industry associations also serve as a conduit for corporate social responsibility CSR activities by mobilizing private sector contribution to the crisis. In India, as in any other country, industry associations and chambers of commerce have taken prominent positions in various government committees, task forces to formulate lockdown relaxations, set the parameters around the reopening, and designing an economic recovery program with full strategies put into it. And this is where the private sector leadership plays a key role in all this. With these few words, I would like to say that the chambers of commerce and industry associations have to change their color, and they are changing. Many of them are changing. Those who do not change will fall by the wayside. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I can't hear you.
Yeah, Dr. Shekhar, you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you for your good initial remarks. It gives a full flare of what the industry associations do, how they can plan, what they should be doing. And there are a few unanswered questions which we will take it in the second half. And now our second speaker was Dr. Ranjit. He has certainly been rushed to his AGM. That's what some messages come. So in that context, our Akram himself has been in two associations before he started Policy Times. They are CIA and FICCI, and where he did an immensely great job. I myself have worked very closely with him. He has, in fact, he accompanied us a very important delegation, which was generally attended by Prime Minister, and we had the privilege of addressing 11 heads of countries of our blue economy. And like this, he has played an immense role in CIA, FICCI. So today, I think in a second hat, Akram speak on behalf of association and how associations can rephrase themselves. He has been so deeply involved, almost for 8-9 years, not a small period, and done a very good job, done an extremely good job. I can myself certify because I have been the recipient of whatever output he gave. And because of that, I'm sure that he, in his different hat today, as an association, what does he feel? Because there is a need of a change. Many of the associations are almost on the verge of closing or just surviving on an ICU bed. Okay. They're all looking at tomorrow's thing today or trying to drop off so many programs. Whereas what has to happen is, at the same time, an industry person who is in the association field, what do? I can anyway do a Google. And then what do they do? Because previously, when before Google was there, at least because of association, I could talk to somebody in some place. Today, because of Google, I know what they are. Whereas what many associations seem to miss is the active role which they should do, which they are not doing. No Google can give you active role. Just like we always say, whether Google is a guru. Guru and Google, what is the difference? Guru gives you knowledge. Google gives you information. Only giving information doesn't give you business. It has to have knowledge. It has to have a sustained capacity to interact, interface, and conclude a deal, which most of the associations have not been doing. They have only been, trying to be a forum of networking, and then, seeing people meet. But then people feel anyway I can meet in any social forums. Anyway, I can through Google I can make a mail and this thing. Does a mailing give you result? It doesn't give you result. Mailing through Google. So I'm saying, not saying Google or any other. Today internet media is so powerful that I can just put a small note and I'll get 200 replies. But that doesn't give you the results. So associations have to get it to a different dimension because they have an important role to play. Because their importance, why they cannot be downgraded, because otherwise we will not be able to grow. We will all be cocoons in our own places. So if we have to expand, if nation has to expand, because of which anyway they are going to expand, they have to interface through an association, and in this association have to play a role. And I would like Akram to elaborate whatever his thoughts based on his actual experience and the way he has done a good job, how he can ensure others also do. Akram.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shekhar. Though I'm nowhere near to you and Rangaraj sir on in terms of sharing knowledge, wisdom, and this thing, but I can share a couple of experiences that I had during my tenure at FICCI and CII. Fortunately, I think I'm one of the luckiest people uh, in India to work with two of the largest industry associations of India, along with also partially working with many other sectoral regional chambers. So that is one experience that I'm really grateful to Almighty and to our country and to all my previous bosses who actually hired me, chose me to work with them. Now, I really enjoyed working with Chamber of Commerce because I realized I always wanted to do something which contributes in the national growth, nation building, or national development. So when I worked with a media house, I'm like very passionate about media, and I've been doing it since my first job. It's been 10 years, more than 10 years. So media is something that I like and I love. So I will, till the day I die, I think I will have always a media element in my life. Second, I work with research organizations. I found research can be or maybe very good. So I realized no, there is something more that we need to do. So I work with American-based research organization. Then I moved to CII and FICCI. The great parts that I like is, and that is what we are also promoting at the Policy Times, is promoting, discussing, debating on the policy issues. India as a nation, or for that matter, any country, if a country really wants to become a developed, advanced, or a powerful country, or a peaceful country, or whatever the end objective, it is only through policy discussion and policy implementation a nation can achieve its objective. I found in India, chambers of commerce are the only organizations in India which talk about and promote, propagate about the policy development, policy making. The other excellent, character or behavior that I like about the Chamber of Commerce is that, they have no political agenda in mind. What I found that they are pure professional organizations who promote business or which promotes business. And the way they do, whether it is a red color organization or politics in power, blue color politics in power, gray color, dark color politics in power, it doesn't matter to them. It doesn't make any sense to them. What they do, that whatever policies government make, they are like fresh brains. They consider them as pure and with a core intention for national growth agenda, and they contribute or they put their wholehearted effort in it to make it a success. So the organizations I found in India which are working in disseminating or creating awareness around policy issues and also helping them implement on the ground are the Chamber of Commerce. These are two broad reasons I found that they are contributing tremendously in the country. The third important aspect that I found of the Chamber of Commerce, which are really nice, is the business matchmaking, B2B. because B2B is a very important part to promote or expand your business. To make 10 good potential leads in your sector, as well as like your complementary stakeholder or partner, as well as your customers, is very important. The third is the connection with the policymakers, because a normal industry cannot reach out to the government, and government or the bureaucrats won't entertain them and all. That way, becoming a platform to connect all multi stakeholders in a single platform is also a very important or influential part that Chamber of Commerce makes. So Chamber of Commerce does a lot of B2B matchmaking between us. So these are three different activities I found that for which Chamber of Commerce should be applauded and should be praised and should be given more space. The government of India also does give enough importance, attention, and support to this Chamber of Commerce, because they are also the business community of the country. So naturally, they deserve the attention, and they are the ones who are also one important pillar for nation building. So that due respect and things should be given. The negative things, I'll also say a couple of things which what they are doing and what more can they do. And during COVID or post-COVID, how should they redefine their growth agenda, so that because COVID is not a simple or normal phenomenon in the society. It's a world war. So when a world war happens, it devastates the nations. So COVID has devastated the economy. I was discussing and getting some facts that most of Indian state governments are running on overdraft. Means they don't have money to run their states, to pay the salary, to run their operations and functions, which means that we need massive support from all possible stakeholders together to rebuild the country that we are having. So this is not only applicable for India, this is for the entire world. In such a scenario, I think the number one point that I want to say, there are thorough professional people in the Chamber of Commerce. The first limitation that I found in the Chamber of Commerce is that they are limited reach to influence common mass. I really wanted and desperate. I was desperate when I was working with FICCI and CII, and I was connected with a lot of other chambers of commerce. Their stakeholder base is always limited to industry and a couple of more sectors. That I think more than media, the Chamber of Commerce should be media of the country, and they should be the mainstream developmental organizations that the government, other civil societies should be promoting. So what I wanted to see, that the Chamber of Commerce should also be able to at least reach out to the entire educated class of the society, because they carry the real policy agenda of the nation. And if they can influence at least the educated mass of the society, that can make a tremendous change in the country. That's the only way I think we can bring change. So when I was actually a student, and I started teaching in a management college in the Department of Economics. So I developed an idea of teaching economics to every Indian of the country. But then, because I found that the economic principles are the most important, more than the religious scriptures. Somewhere I felt, I don't want to make any controversial statement. Someone will immediately, might argue, but I think more than the religious scripture pages or these things, I think we should have made, or we should make every Indian learn the basics of economics and the basics of finance and the basics of technology. So these are three things which are going to dominate. And the fourth one would be the basics of entrepreneurship thing. So if these four things we can add up, the basics of economics, because at the end of the day, the way economics are moving, the dynamism that we can see in the economic activity, we are witnessing, the lessons or basic lessons of economics are going to be the fundamental. And then basics of economics, basics of finance, basics of science, and basics of technology, and then entrepreneurship. I think this is what the Chamber of Commerce do. So one thing I would love to see, that they really reach out. Second thing, so they should reach out to the real mass of the country. I know that this is not their agenda. But I wish to see this is their first agenda in terms of this. Now, how do we do that? So we have defined it. We planned that, there are 33 crore or 330 million people who are connected in the education sector. If you really want to reach out to the mass, your mass is not a farmer, sitting in a remote village. Your mass is at least the one who is connected in the education sector, because they have interest of policy and they will understand it. So we also at the Policy Times have made it an objective that we will reach out to 330 million people connected in the education sector. I think that is first, which is going to make a tremendous difference in the society if they can do and they can achieve. The second important objective that I really want this Chamber of Commerce to achieve, if they can, is promoting MSMEs, or SMEs or startups, because they all know, the Chamber of Commerce all know, we all know that it is the startups or MSMEs which are the backbone of the economy. Imagine one large corporation making 90 crore rupees per hour does not reflect in the creation of employment or revenue generation on the ground for the common mass. But imagine when, if we can bring, so my debate was slightly different. I don't want to take names of brands, but imagine India is attracting $1 trillion investment, and that investment going to 10 large companies of the country. And imagine another scenario when this $1 trillion in FDI investment coming and going to 40 million or I think how many 40 million or 50 million startups we have in the country. So imagine that 50 million startups get $1 trillion FDI. So the Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with the government, they can achieve it. And we need to empower the MSMEs, SMEs, and startup ecosystem of the country to create. So that is already the backbone, and that is going to be one of the most signifying, defining criteria for India's success in not only creating employment, but also a sustainable ecosystem for nation building. So I really want to urge and see that this Chamber of Commerce make MSMEs and startups, or building MSME startup sustainable ecosystem as their priority to safeguard this country. The third that I want to see, and really this is the real change that I want to see. In fact, there is one more, but I do not want to take more time. We want to finish on time today. The third important point, and this is a little controversial, is that the this ecosystem, the chambers of commerce, should be the front runner of the industry 4.0, we say, or whatever the future industrialization that is needed for this country. And I know they know better. In the chambers of commerce know what is the industrialization post-COVID. So we were talking about industry 4.0, but I am talking now industrialization post-COVID. The post-COVID industrialization is going to be slightly different than industry 4.0, and all the industrial, processing changes that we saw. Chamber of Commerce should have the single most objective to bring the post-COVID industrialization in this country. One thing that piqued me every time when I work with a lot of industry associations, I saw the top leadership, middle leadership, and the bottom leadership. Most of these people are sitting there for some salary, good amount, handsome salary, and decent, money for them. That is where used to haunt me actually. That money for our salary, our pocket is okay, but that is needed. There is no debate in that. But they are the power centers to drive industrialization. There I felt that the kind of leadership that is needed to bring industrialization on the ground is extremely important. So I don't want to go into details about this, but then it will sound that such a young boy is advising and talking such a big things for industry associations. The fourth and most important thing, I think, that the industry associations should focus and can do more is their linkages with states. The biggest disadvantage of the Chamber of Commerce that is that they have very simple or thin or peripheral relations with state governments. Any industrial, if the industrialization has to be a success story in India, it is only when the Chamber of Commerce or chambers of commerce develop a very seamless, nice relations with the state government officials and state government bureaucrats and politicians. That is the only day when Chamber of Commerce will become successful to drive industrialization as well as to drive MSMEs and startups. Reason being, the actual implementer or implementing authorities are actually the state government. Now, that is what most of the Chamber of Commerce, when they organize events or when they organize expos or road shows, the biggest mistake that they make, they always look at the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Ministry of the Health, Education, IT, whatever of the central government, immediately invite their joint secretary or their secretary as speakers and minister as a chief guest and all. That's the common format of organizing the webinars, programs, events, all that. Most cases where they miss that they don't have a very deep root connection with the state governments and they don't involve the state government stakeholders in this. So I don't want to extend much. They are doing wonderful job, the Chamber of Commerce, but there is much more that we are going to expect from them. And they have to also change, they have to be dynamic, they have to change with time. Post-COVID, their struggle also signified that how equipped they are to survive themselves first and to also contribute in this critical fight. With this, I don't want to extend, hand over to Dr. Shekhar.
Thank you, thank you. Those are excellent suggestions. Some of the suggestions made are in terms of the association going far beyond their members. Today, associations only think, oh, this man is my paid member, so I should only serve him. By serving him, we don't get anything because then it is one-to-one anyway. And most of the associations have got right from 600 members to 3,000 members, not anything big. And when they are only, again, the same conco in this theory, that, you are sitting in a small pond and then trying to, end up being, like I always say, fish in the pond to a whale in the ocean. Going out in the world, you are satisfied with a small. So what suggestion which is being made by Akram that they have to go far beyond. They should look at the beneficiary, because just because those 10 big industry are supported by 10,000 small industries, they have their own ways of getting them. That means if X industry is a member, automatically its vendors become my member. Or you can put some condition. Vendor who has done XYZ amount of business with my members are automatically my members. Because that will only benefit them finally, even though they may not be a paying member, but it will benefit the growth, it will internally this. Second is, which is also as much important, which may have been indirectly touched, is today the media role of a different nature. One is today, how much is the real COVID and how much is the media made COVID, we are not able to understand. There's a big joke going on that you keep media in quarantine for 15 days and the whole COVID will disappear. Okay. Now, how far it is true, we do not know. But industry association can definitely make a dent. Industry association need not be satisfied with only whatever PR they get in some events, in some big celebrities coming for them. They should continuously provide information. Today, what happens? Anything negative happening, yes, media is not to say sun is shining in the east and sun is setting in the west. We all know. Like the best joke of any media's first thing, the dog biting a man is not the news, the man biting a dog is the news. So please look for a man biting the dog. So if that's what it is, okay, let the man write that. But he should not make one man bite one dog as a full page item for next 20 days. Okay. Let him just say that he has 10 men bite 10 dogs. That's all. That may in some corner or in front page also, but wherever. But that need not deter that there is something else happening, for which I feel associations have to play a very, very deep role, because they are connected. They have got their own, in terms of budget, they have got their own, when they do something good, they get little more premium in their work. So in the closing down, if they can at least spread the proper facts, figures, I'm not saying anything which is non-factual. So it should not be that just because one of the association want X to be said. Today, we also know, thanks to WhatsApp, one day X is very, very bad for health. Second day, that same X is very, very good for health. So confuse people. So how can the same thing be so bad in the first this thing, and they are all justified through some US university and some this thing, and and second one says something the same, the different university say that is something good. Associations have to come and neutralize the whole thing. That what is good about it, put it separately. What is bad about it, put it on the same structure rather than in a different thing. Same way, when things are happening for the good of the country, those has to be highlighted to industry, because that's when the industry can grow. Media may go on TRP where again something negative has happened, but industry does not grow by negative happening. So industry has to see that, again, artificial negative positivity I'm not saying, I'm talking of real life positivities, that if they start putting, it will have a different impact. So I would like Dr. Rangaraj to say his concluding remarks, of course, for next about 10 minutes, because he has not talked about himself. I would like him to talk because he's got an excellent personal credentials. I'd like him to talk 2 minutes at least about his personal credentials, and then talk about this, post-COVID, how can some of these changes, are they happening? How can they happen? What is it that is needed for the final real incarnation to start and the business association to play a real lead role? Dr. Rangaraj.
The post-COVID era has created, as I mentioned earlier, very many new challenges. Some of the progressive associations and industry chambers, what they have done is they have created within their chamber small consultative groups who send out information to their industry members. Please let us know what are the problems you're facing post-COVID. Then they have made a gradual gradation of the various types of problems different types of industries are facing. Accordingly, they have taken up each of these issues either with the state government or with the central government or with the financial institution, which means there is a direct intervention by the chambers of commerce and industry into grievances and problems of small, medium, and large industry. Large industry don't need a chamber of commerce, but at least the small and medium ones they need, and they have done it very well in the Indian context. Now, there is a very important role the chambers of commerce and industry associations can play, given the kind of geopolitical challenges that we are facing around the country. This side China, that side Pakistan, chambers of commerce should now evolve slowly into instruments which create peace, which create good relationship with the neighborhood. Because wherever we go, we see the trade, business, these form the basic fundamentals and the bedrock for creating good relationship with various countries. So chambers of commerce can play a very important role in the external relations of that particular country by working very closely with the Ministry of External Affairs and other institutions. Another major area where chambers of commerce can evolve themselves is they can evolve themselves into a think tank which does a lot of thinking. See, today the problem is what? We need new innovation. We need new thinking. That new thinking, if they can bring into not only private sector, small, medium industries, but also among state governments. I remember some time back, a Chamber of Commerce did a training program for state government officers on how to understand international business currents, how to understand changes that are taking place in the geopolitical area, and accordingly how your state government policies have to be changed or implemented so that the state prospers. If a particular state prospers, it creates a multiplier effect for other states and the whole nation prospers in that process. So there are many things which chambers of commerce and industries are going to be called upon. The point here is they have to think anew, they have to think of new sectors, they have to think of new technology, and artificial intelligence and machine learning is pervading every area. I saw this in action about 15 days back. I was admitted to Leelavati Hospital, and within no time they could diagnose me what is the problem. They said we have used a new technology. They didn't divulge to me what it is. We have used a new technology to screen patients. And then that finding said, don't do CT scan for him, don't do this for him, but do this following 1, 2, 3. You see, this is how the new technology is pervading all areas, whether business or healthcare. And the last area is the changing education scenario. Chambers of commerce have to play a very important role all the future leaders of tomorrow are going to come from the present day education system. So they have to play a very important role, not only in streamlining the education, but working with educational institutions and offering them whatever assistance they need. It is not merely in placement, but it could be in many other areas: teachers training, faculty training, educating the faculty to new technology, how to help that young child who is from 8th standard or 9th standard to absorb new technology. So it's a multifarious activity, and this will demand tremendous amount of efforts. And this is where these industry associations must also seek assistance from international institutions like the World Bank or the Japanese Development Agency seeking funding, because individually their funds are restricted now because of the COVID-19. Many companies have withdrawn their membership and gone. Many of them. So this is where challenges are going to come for industry associations. And I think they have a very bright future if they think in terms of the future, if they think in terms of employing new technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So before I conclude, just few remarks that business associations are there to stay. They are also going through a huge problem area. They are in fact affected more than the client, their own client, because many of them, as he rightly said, their membership is dwindling because of this advanced information technology. They were already in trouble, and because of this COVID, this has become a double attack on industry association. Previously, industry association, when they are there, just to have a networking, a person would like to become a member. Today, that was never an attraction. Today, the attraction was more in terms of what else. Okay, and while doing that, what else people are trying to analyze and do, at the time this attack has come, and it has really been devastating. But in that, like as we rightly concluded today, industry association has to expand its role. It still has a very good role, because without that, people would always be isolated. And in that isolation, for it to be more, they have to have members which are far beyond their paid members, because that will again benefit them directly, indirectly, and also in a consequential way. Means because of that they will have new members coming, because after all, a small industry becomes a medium industry becomes a large, and sometimes a large industry falls flat. So before that, the cycle has to be maintained. Today there is no way the small and medium can come in picture in many of the large associations, which may have to go for a small change. And with that, maybe we hope that some of the association would do their real endeavor to get the progress as their main agenda, and also see that the industry is served, government is served, and various think tanks which are required to see that the right knowledge is spread to the public, like I said, to the media, to the policymakers. Then only the policymaker can get the right policies in place. With that, I will conclude my remark. Akram can,
Thank you.
as policy times now, we can close the remark.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shekhar. I wanted to thank Rangarajan sir for joining us for this very important discussion. And also, I want to compliment and thank you, Dr. Shekhar, for coming up with such beautiful, wonderful series with such brilliant minds of this country to discuss about crucial issues. And I think this Chamber of Commerce discussion about the Chamber of Commerce, their role and redefined role is extremely important. Policy Times is promoting developmental journalism, and we have only one motto, that from education to industrialization. I just wanted to echo what Dr. Rangarajan said, that we want to connect education with industrialization so that education becomes the center stage for or main source of industrial movement of the country. And if we can club this together, becoming government or policymakers as a facilitating body to this ecosystem, I think we can achieve what India deserves to be. With this, I want to say goodbye to our viewers. Thank you. Keep watching.